2 months later, she walked up to me with 2 pieces of paper, and she put one down and said, "Those are my liver function tests before you prayed for me." The second one are the liver function tests that she'd just been given by a consultant who said, "Do you believe in miracles?"
Dr. Mike Vaughn, who you have met before, and he is going to be speaking on cultivating daily connection with the Holy Spirit.
Thank you. So I'm 6th, after lunch slot. No pressure. There's been so much wonderful stuff and amazing stuff already been said that I thought I'd just share some stories with you. Is that okay? Because basically cultivating daily connection with the Holy Spirit is basically, how do we do this day by day? So the first story, I have permission from the patient to tell the story. Some years ago, I was in a partners meeting, the people that own the surgery I was at, and one partner walked in and said he's just seen a young lady, a teenage lady, who tried to kill herself by cutting her own throat. And in the meeting, he said, she said to me, "I just want someone to love me." And he said in the meeting, that's exactly what she needs and exactly what medicine can't give her. So I just said to God, really like to meet that woman. A couple of weeks later, I called in my next patient and I recognized her by the scar. And I realized she was here. So I did the medicine. Always do the medicine first. Do the thing they came for first. And then I went through the spiel I go through in terms of trying to invite people that want me to pray. And Britain is not a very friendly culture for prayer. You have to be careful how you do it. If you're interested, it's on one of Jen's podcasts. They're all fantastic, but I spoke on one. It wasn't too bad. But I do the spiel. I do the spiel that I go through. But anyway, I got to the point where I asked if she wanted me to pray, and she indicated she was interested. So I go to pray for her, and an image of a white horse comes into my head. And I know what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to wait on God and see what else He wants to give you, draw on the picture and all that. I was getting nothing. So I did what I would normally do in that situation. I just said to the patient, "Does a horse mean anything to you?" And she said, "What color?" As soon as she said that, I knew this was a God moment. So I said, "A white horse. What does a white horse mean to you?" And she welled up. And she said, "It's my only happy memory. I was walking across a field and there was a white horse in the field and it came up to me and I stood in this field and it was nuzzling me. And as it was nuzzling me, I stroked its head and I just had this time just with this horse." And she said, "It's my only happy memory." And so I was able to say that the God of love has shown me her only happy memory to show her that He sees her, He knows her. Now, she didn't become a Christian that moment, but she had an encounter with a God who loves. All because of a breath prayer. Can I see that woman? And that's the thing, I didn't realize they were called breath prayers. In the UK, general practice is quick. We generally run on 10-minute appointments, although we've just now gone to 15 minutes, luxury. But it'd be back to back. I'd see 18, 20 patients in a row at 10 minutes. In and out, no breaks. So I got in the habit of just like a breath prayer. Even if the patient was interested, I just said, "Jesus, would you just give them the healing that they want?" And breath prayers are when you take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. And as you breathe in, you just say, "Jesus, Jesus," or "Jehovah Rapha." As you breathe out, you just release the prayer. Would you give them a house? Would you take away that pain? Breath prayers. Well, sometimes, when you're just at maximum, everything's happening, sometimes you just need to send yourself, ground yourself in the Holy Spirit and say, "God, you're here in amongst this chaos. You're here with me, you and me." breath pairs, be in the moment, but then just be open to the Holy Spirit, these little things that go in your mind. Sometimes it'll be a question that he pops into my head, and I'll ask that question, and a whole new avenue of approach or whole new truths come out that I wasn't expecting. Or sometimes there'll be prompts to pray. Just pray for that patient. Ask them. One time I was in a meeting, I'm a GP trainer, or was training GPs, and my boss said she was worried about her dog. She thought her dog was demonized, because normally it was quite friendly and would, lick her and nuzzle and all that sort of stuff. And every now and then it would suddenly start growling at her and barking and trying to bite her. And she just said, my dog's demonized. And the Holy Spirit said, offer to pray for the dog. Now, I have to tell you, I do not feel called to a canine ministry. I thought, fine, okay. So I offered to pray for the dog. So I went round to a house to pray for the dog. And so I met the dog, and I prayed for the dog. I have to tell you, it didn't go out in the spirit. It wasn't on its knees receiving Jesus, but it started a conversation. And by the end of the evening, I led the owner to Jesus.
Hey, Healthcare Tribe, I hope that you have been impacted by what I've brought through this podcast. I also want you to know about opportunities to give back through my nonprofit, Selah Health International. We work to support projects for women and children of vulnerable populations around the world. You can learn more and donate on our website, selahhealthinternational.org.
So, just from go pray for the dog, it can take just moments. Another story. I was one of my secretaries was very ill with a thing called ascending cholangitis, which, if you don't know what that is, it's an inflammatory condition of the gallbladder and the liver. It's life-threatening. She was back at work, but she wasn't well. Her liver function tests were deteriorating over time. She didn't feel good. Now, when you employ someone, there's a power imbalance. So you need to be really careful about how you approach that. Just as there is a power imbalance between you and your patients, there's a power imbalance between you and staff. So I just casually said to her, look, I'm part of a church that prays for healing. I've seen miracles. If you ever want me to pray for you, it would be my pleasure. That's all I said. Some weeks later, I was in surgery. In general practice in the UK, we call them surgeries. There's no surgery. But, we just talk. But I'd run out. I was going to print something off, and my print had run out of ink. So I grabbed the cartridge and I dashed upstairs to excuse myself from the patient. And I went into the general office where the printing cartridges were. And unusually it was empty, just the secretary was there. So I went over to the cupboard to get the printing ink. And she said, I'd really like that prayer. And I'm standing there printing ink in hand. And my patient is sitting there waiting for me. And the Holy Spirit says, do it now, because you may not get it again. So I can't tell you the prayer I prayed, but I can tell you it was quick. I walked up to her, I asked if I could put a hand on her shoulder, and I just released healing and wholeness over her. There was no angelic choir. There was no worship leading me in. I was there printing ink in hand. I was just doing the day. Prayed the prayer, went down to a patient, thought not much more about it. Christmas came and went, came back from the Christmas break, and there was a little card in my tray from her saying, I feel so much better. So I thought, great, that's really nice. 2 months later, she walked up to me with 2 pieces of paper, and she put one down and said, those are my liver function tests before you prayed for me. The second one are the liver function tests that she'd just been given by a consultant who said, do you believe in miracles? Because they were completely normal. All from, if you're interested, I'll pray for you. And all from, do it now. So I had a little prompt from the Holy Spirit about something I want to share with you. Because I was thinking, I felt God say to me that maybe during this conference, you've been looking at all these amazing people up the front and their amazing stories and going, Do you know what? When I pray for healing, I'm just glad they don't get sicker. I don't have a backlog of miracles. Those of us who are the UK contingent of this talk were listening to the ministry team prepping, and someone, I can't remember it may have been Jana, I don't remember, they said, now what's your go-to miracle? And I'm going, my go-to miracle. So, we're not all stars, but maybe you just think, I'm not even at that. I'm just me. I haven't even had a conversation with a patient. I don't know where I would start. Well, God gave me this passage I want to read over you. Zechariah 4:10 says this, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin, to see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin, to see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand. Do you want to know what my first miracle healing was? It was an infected, ingrowing toenail. It was not a blind eye opened. It was not a deaf ear hearing. It was not a limb growing or a new organ. It was an infected, ingrowing toenail. It was an 80-year-old lady who was being tormented by this toe that would not get better. She'd had surgery and it had failed. She'd had antibiotics and it had failed. And she was just tormented with pain and the fact that she couldn't walk properly. And she looked at me one day and said, is there nothing you can do for me? So I said, well, I can pray. So I prayed. 3 weeks later, she came back to me and said, are you a healer? And I said, why? He said, my foot is completely better. Are you a healer? And I said, no, but my God is. And then it struck me that I will never have a first healing beyond the infected ingrowing toenail. It doesn't, I have had miracles after that, but that's my first. Do not despise small beginnings. It will get bigger and better. Your first conversation with your patient might be the most awkward one you've ever had, and your testimony is dribbling down your throat, but it will get better and it will get easier. Do not despise the small beginnings. And the bit that I felt God want me to just say to you is, the Lord rejoices to see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand. What does that mean? It means if you go away from this conference saying, do you know what? I'm going to have a go. I'm going to try. I'm inspired. I'm going to have a go when I walk into that patient's house, or when I pick up the scalpel, or when I pick up the thermometer. I'm going to have a go. That is you picking up the plumb line and saying, yeah, me too. That's what I'd like you to take away from my little Inspire talk, which is, don't despise how it starts. Just start. And know that God is rejoicing over you. He's saying to the angels, have you seen what she's going to do? So awesome. He doesn't look at results. He looks at the heart. And that's my inspiration for you.
Healthcare professionals, I'm so excited to be able to connect with you on issues regarding spiritual needs in healthcare. We want to partner together to see some of the ruined places of healthcare culture restored by hope. Follow us at restorehealthcareproject.org and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and social media.